Shut the door, will you? I can't hear myself think with that goddamn bass thumping from the main floor. Georgie's got the sound system cranked up so high the ice in my fucking scotch is vibrating. Sit down. Take a load off. You want a drink? Pour yourself something? I'm sticking to my espresso. My stomach's been doing flip-flops all morning. I gotta tell you, I was reading the paper over at Satrial's earlier today, and it got me thinking about the absolute fundamental hypocrisy of the world we live in. You look at us, right? You look at our thing. The regular stiffs out there, the civilians, they point their little fingers at us. They watch the news, they whisper to their neighbors, "Oh, there goes Tony Soprano. He's the mob boss, he's a racketeer, he's a bad guy." They look at me like I'm the devil incarnate. Like I'm the monster hiding under their kids' beds. But let me tell you something about monsters. We got rules, we got a code. We know exactly who we are, and we know who we deal with. Soldiers fight soldiers. You don't touch families, and you sure as shit don't touch civilians. You want to know what a real monster looks like? It ain't a guy in a tailored suit eating gabagool. It's the regular, everyday people. The ones who smile at you in the grocery store. Take this sick fuck I was just reading about. Over in Germany. A city called Bremen. I don't know much about Germany, but apparently they breed some real fucking psychos over there. Guy's name is Olaf Dater. 32 years old. And he works as a nurse. A male nurse. Right away, you gotta wonder about a grown man whose whole career is carrying bedpans and adjusting IV drips. But if you asked anybody in his life, this prick was the absolute golden boy. People said he was a lovable, helpful, and friendly guy. At the hospital, they said he was extremely hardworking. And the old ladies absolutely loved him. He was like a fucking saint in scrubs. These elderly patients, they came to him seeking his help, trusting him when they were at their weakest. And what does this sweetheart of a guy do? He ends up clipping 5 of them. 5 bodies. And I'm not talking about rival guys on the street. I'm talking about defenseless old women, aged between 83 and 89 years old. Madame? Can you even imagine? Women the age of my mother, Livia. God rest her soul. Though frankly, if this German prick tried to lay a hand on my mother, she would have chewed his fucking arm off at the elbow. You ask yourself, why? How does a nice boy turn into a serial killer? Are guys like this completely unrealistic figures? Like out of a fucking movie? Well, the court over there appointed this psychiatrist, a Dr. Nala Sima, to figure out what was wrong with his head. Now, you know I got my own experience with psychiatry. My shrink, Dr. Melfi, she's a smart woman, but she loves to talk about feelings and childhood trauma. And this German shrink, she's pushing the exact same psychobabble bullshit. Dr. Sima says this guy Olaf had split off all his unpleasant feelings, like his anger and his aggression, from his emotional spectrum. According to her, he pushed all these negative emotions so far away from himself that eventually, the only thing anybody could see was the smiling, friendly nurse. She claims his aggression didn't actually disappear. It just became completely inaccessible to him. I mean, what kind of an excuse is that? Sorry, Your Honor, my anger was inaccessible today, so I accidentally murdered half a retirement home. Give me a fucking break. But here's where it gets truly pathetic. The shrink also says he suffered from massive self-insecurity, which he tried to compensate for by ordering a highly expensive car. A luxury car! This whole bloodbath started over a midlife crisis on a nurse's salary. And of course, there's a broad involved. There is always a broad, but not a respectable wife, not a classy gumar who knows the rules. No, this stunad gets himself into a relationship with a patana, a prostitute. Now, I got nothing against the world's oldest profession. You walk through the Bing to get to this office. You see how I make my living. But you don't go trying to play high roller with a street hooker when your paycheck comes from a public hospital. His lifestyle suddenly becomes way too expensive for him. The hooker is bleeding him dry, demanding more and more cash, putting him under tremendous pressure. And why doesn't he just tell her to take a hike? Because he's a coward. The shrink thinks he was terrified of getting into a physical beef with her pimps. She's scared of guys who can actually hit back. So he figures it's easier to just go find the money somewhere else. Debts start piling up. He gets himself into a hole of about 35,800 euros. 35 grand, are you kidding me? In my line of work, if a degenerate gambler owes me 35 large, I might break his legs. I might take his sports book. I don't tell him to go slaughter grandmothers. To Olaf, though, this debt is the end of the fucking world. So what does he do first? He starts skimming off the top at work, embezzling money from the hospital. But because he's an amateur, he gets caught and is called in to be held accountable. After the police question him about the missing funds, he goes into a full-blown panic. He needs cash immediately, and he's out of options. And this is where he comes up with his genius master plan. He remembers his old patients, the ones who had already been discharged and gone home. He actually sneaks into the medical records to steal their private home addresses. A complete violation of trust. He goes to the house of his first victim. Later on, he claims he originally only wanted to rob her. He gets inside, finds a few measly marks, and then catches a panic attack. He gets completely terrified that the old lady is going to rat him out to the cops. So what does this friendly nurse do? He takes her own pillow, and he suffocates her with it. One body. For pocket change. It makes me sick to my stomach. We do what we do in our family to provide, to survive. But this is just senseless, cowardly garbage. Does he stop there? No. The tiny amount of money he gets from that first murder actually makes him decide to go visit more of his former patients. Over the next few days, he makes 4 more of these sick house calls. These poor women, they completely trusted him. He was the nice boy from the clinic. They willingly opened their front doors to him, hoping he was there to help them with their medical issues. And he just slaughters them. 5 murders in just a matter of days. And you want to know the punchline? The absolute most pathetic part of this whole tragic comedy? His total take for 5 dead bodies wasn't even 2,500 euros. 5 grandmothers dead for less than what Paulie Walnut spends on his white tracksuits in a single month. The return on investment is a fucking joke. Now, a smart guy would lay low. But Olaf is a moron. His debt is still huge. He's got the payments on the new car. And he takes an expensive trip with his prostitute. He completely loses his mind. He remembers reading in the newspapers that elderly people often keep a lot of cash hidden in their houses. So he decides to roll the dice again. He goes for victim number 6. He shows up at the house, searches around, finds only a few marks again, and goes back to his signature move, trying to smother the old lady with a pillow. But this time, he gets frantic. He gets sloppy. He assumes the woman is dead, and he hastily runs out of the house like the little rat he is. He botched it. The woman actually survives. Thank God for small miracles, right? Shortly after, a relative comes by to visit her, finds her in bad shape, and immediately calls the police. The cops swoop in and grab him. And you know what this tough guy does? He completely folds. Gives him a massive, comprehensive confession, and right there on the spot. The police said he actually seemed relieved and glad to finally be caught. Oh, what a fragile, pathetic little mind. He sits there in the interrogation room, crying his eyes out, constantly swearing that he never actually had the intention to kill those women. It was an accident. The pillow just slipped. Bullshit. The court wasn't buying any of that crap either. The judges said he fully accepted the deaths of these women. They pointed out that his psychological inhibition threshold, his conscience, basically, was completely shattered after the second murder. His shrink, Dr. Saime, tried to soften it. She called the whole bloody mess a series of miscalculations. Miscalculations. That's a real nice clinical word for being a greedy fucking psycho who murders people for car payments. Thankfully, the court ruled that his personality disorder wasn't an actual illness, meaning he was fully conscious of his actions and could control them. The judge looked him right in the eye and said he didn't have to order a luxury car, and he sure as shit didn't have to murder 5 old women. They called it exactly what it was: sheer, unadulterated greed. They slapped him with a life sentence, specifically noting the exceptional, extreme severity of his guilt. They made sure to highlight that, despite his nice guy act, he had used massive, brutal violence against these defenseless women because of his massive debts. He simply didn't care if his potential financial backers had to pay with their lives. All he cared about was impressing a streetwalker and driving a car he couldn't afford. And honestly, life in prison in Germany is probably way too good for a prick like this. What do they get over there? 3 square meals a day, cable TV, maybe a little strudel on Sundays? I'll tell you right now, if a guy like that operated in my neighborhood, if he so much as looked at one of our nanas the wrong way, he wouldn't even make it to a courtroom. We'd find him, and he'd be in very small pieces in the meat grinder at Satriel's before the sun went down. Period. End of story. So the next time you hear somebody mouthing off about the mafia being the bad guys, you tell them about Olaf Dater. You tell them about the friendly nurse. Anyway, look at me. I'm getting all worked up over something that happened thousands of miles away. My blood pressure's probably through the goddamn roof right now. Carmela's gonna yell at me if I come home stressed out again. Do me a favor. Hand me that plate of sfogliatella over there. All this talking is making me starving. And go tell Georgie to turn that fucking music down before I go out there and break his nose.